A Transhumanism Guide, Using Technology to Create a Better Human. Chapter 1. Transhumanism, Becoming Bionic. Transhumanism Info. Transhumanism is the philosophy where people believe we should use whatever we have in science and technology to improve ourselves, such as living longer, being stronger, smarter, etc. Transhumanism is an ideology dedicated to the use of drugs, genetic modification, and technological devices implanted in the body to help human life any way possible, from extending memory to increasing lifespan. Transhumanists see a beautiful future brought about by artificial intelligence, life extension, and cybernetics. It's about creating perfect human beings. The only problem is that only a few elites will be able to afford it. This is the bionic stuff you saw on the $6 Million Man. This is not just about products to help heal people like a pacemaker. It's about creating things to help us enhance our lives and turn into superhumans. Paradise Engineering / Hedonistic Imperative. The Hedonistic Imperative is a manifesto by David Pearce that questions whether genetic engineering, nanotechnology, and biotechnology will be able to solve human suffering. It's related to transhumanism. Can we be supercharged, joyful human beings? Chapter 2. Transhumanism essay at en.wikipedia.org/wiki/transhumanism. Transhumanism Introduction. Transhumanism is a philosophical and intellectual movement which advocates the enhancement of the human condition by developing and making widely available sophisticated technologies that can greatly enhance longevity and cognition. Transhumanist thinkers study the potential benefits and dangers of emerging technologies that could overcome fundamental human limitations, as well as the ethics of using such technologies. Some transhumanists believe that human beings may eventually be able to transform themselves into beings with abilities so greatly expanded from the current condition as to merit the label of post-human beings. Another topic of transhumanist research is how to protect humanity against existential risks, such as nuclear war or asteroid collision. Julian Huxley was a biologist who popularized the term transhumanism in an influential 1957 essay. The contemporary meaning of the term transhumanism was foreshadowed by one of the first professors of futurology, a man who changed his name to FM 2030. In the 1960s, he taught new concepts of the human at the New School when he began to identify people who adopt technologies, lifestyles, and worldviews transitional to post-humanity as transhuman. The assertion would lay the intellectual groundwork for the British philosopher Max More to begin articulating the principles of transhumanism as a futurist philosophy in 1990 and organizing in California a school of thought that has since grown into the worldwide transhumanist movement. Influenced by seminal works of science fiction, the transhumanist vision of a transformed future humanity has attracted many supporters and detractors from a wide range of perspectives, including philosophy and religion. In 2017, Penn State University Press, in cooperation with philosopher Stephen Lawrence Sorner and sociologist James Hughes, established the Journal of Post-Human Studies as the first academic journal explicitly dedicated to the post-human, with the goal of clarifying the notions of post-humanism and transhumanism, as well as comparing and contrasting both. Transhumanism is often compared, especially in the media, to the Nazi project to improve the race in a eugenic sense. This is resolutely denied by one of the most active supporters of transhumanism, the aforementioned Sorner. It is also false to identify transhumanists with Nazi ideology, as Habermas does, because Nazis are in favor of a totalitarian political organization, whereas transhumanists uphold the value of liberal democracies. Precursors of transhumanism. According to Nick Bostrom, transcendentalist impulses have been expressed at least as far back as the quest for immortality in the Epic of Gilgamesh, as well as in historical quests for the fountain of youth, the elixir of life, and other efforts to stave off aging and death. Transhumanists draw upon and claim continuity from intellectual and cultural traditions such as the ancient philosophy of Aristotle or the scientific tradition of Roger Bacon. In his Divine Comedy, Dante coined the word transhumaner, meaning to transcend human nature, to pass beyond human nature, in the first canto of Paradiso. The interweaving of transhumanist aspirations with the scientific imagination can be seen in the works of some precursors of Enlightenment such as Francis Bacon. One of the early precursors to transhumanist ideas is Discourse on Method, 1637, by René Descartes. In the Discourse, Descartes envisioned a new kind of medicine that could grant both physical immortality and stronger minds. In his first edition of Political Justice, 1793, William Godwin included arguments favoring the possibility of earthly immortality, what would now be called physical immortality. Godwin explored the themes of life extension and immortality in his Gothic novel St. Leon, which became popular, and notorious, at the time of its publication in 1799, but is now mostly forgotten. St. Leon may have provided inspiration for his daughter Mary Shelley's novel Frankenstein. Easter Day, marking a significant milestone in human history, celebrated its 175th anniversary on October 16, 2021. It was on this day that dentist William T. G. Morton achieved a groundbreaking feat by administering the first public ether anesthesia in Boston. This breakthrough not only allowed for the alleviation of pain with a reasonable level of risk but also helped safeguard individuals from psychological trauma by inducing unconsciousness. There is debate about whether the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche can be considered an influence on transhumanism, despite its exaltation of the Übermensch, overhuman, due to its emphasis on self-actualization rather than technological transformation. The transhumanist philosophies of Max More and Stefan Lorenz Sorner have been influenced strongly by Nietzschean thinking. By way of contrast, the transhumanist declaration advocates the well-being of all sentience, whether in artificial intellects, humans, post-humans, or non-human animals. The late 19th to early 20th century movement known as Russian Cosmoism, by Russian philosopher N.F. Fyodorov, is noted for anticipating transhumanist ideas. In 1966, FM 2030, formerly FM Esfandiary, a futurist who taught new concepts of the human at the New School, in New York City, began to identify people who adopt technologies, lifestyles, and worldviews transitional to post-humanity as transhuman. Early transhumanist thinking Julian Huxley, the biologist who popularized fundamental ideas of transhumanism were first advanced in 1923 by the British geneticist J.B.S. Haldane in his essay Deadless, Science and the Future, which predicted that great benefits would come from the application of advanced sciences to human biology and that every such advance would first appear to someone as blasphemy or perversion, indecent and unnatural. In particular, he was interested in the development of the science of eugenics, ectogenesis, creating and sustaining life in an artificial environment, and the application of genetics to improve human characteristics, such as health and intelligence. His article inspired academic and popular interest. Transhumanism after the 1920s. J.D. Bernal, a crystallographer at Cambridge, wrote The World, the Flesh, and the Devil in 1929, in which he speculated on the prospects of space colonization and radical changes to human bodies and intelligence through bionic implants and cognitive enhancement. These ideas have been common transhumanist themes ever since. The biologist Julian Huxley is generally regarded as the founder of transhumanism after using the term for the title of a 1957 article. The term itself, however, derives from an earlier 1940 paper by the Canadian philosopher W.D. Lighthall. Huxley describes transhumanism in these terms: up till now human life has generally been, as Hobbes described it, nasty, brutish and short. The great majority of human beings, if they have not already died young, have been afflicted with misery. We can justifiably hold the belief that these lands of possibility exist and that the present limitations and miserable frustrations of our existence could be in large measure surmounted. The human species can, if it wishes, transcend itself not just sporadically, an individual here in one way, an individual there in another way, but in its entirety, as humanity. Huxley's definition differs, albeit not substantially, from the one commonly in use since the 1980s. The ideas raised by these thinkers were explored in the science fiction of the 1960s, notably in Arthur C. Clarke's 2001, A Space Odyssey, in which an alien artifact grants transcendent power to its wielder. Japanese metabolist architects produced a manifesto in 1960 which outlined goals to encourage active metabolic development of our society through design and technology. In the Material and Man section of the manifesto, Noboru Kawazo suggests that, after several decades, with the rapid progress of communication technology, everyone will have a brainwave receiver in his ear, which conveys directly and exactly what other people think about him and vice versa. What I think will be known by all the people. There is no more individual consciousness, only the will of mankind as a whole. Artificial intelligence and the technological singularity. The concept of the technological singularity, or the ultra-rapid advent of superhuman intelligence, was first proposed by the British cryptologist I.J. Good in 1965. Let an ultra-intelligent machine be defined as a machine that can far surpass all the intellectual activities of any man, however clever. Since the design of machines is one of these intellectual activities, an ultra-intelligent machine could design even better machines. There would then unquestionably be an intelligence explosion, and the intelligence of man would be left far behind. Thus the first ultra-intelligent machine is the last invention that man need ever make. Computer scientist Marvin Minsky wrote on relationships between human and artificial intelligence beginning in the 1960s. Over the succeeding decades, this field continued to generate influential thinkers such as Hans Moravec and Raymond Kurzweil, who oscillated between the technical arena and futuristic speculations in the transhumanist vein. The coalescence of an identifiable transhumanist movement began in the last decades of the 20th century. In 1972, Robert Ettinger, whose 1964 prospect of immortality founded the cryonics movement, contributed to the conceptualization of transhumanity with his 1972 Man into Superman. FM 2030 published the Upwingers Manifesto in 1973. Growth of transhumanism. The first self-described transhumanists met formally in the early 1980s at the University of California, Los Angeles, which became the main center of transhumanist thought. Here, FM 2030 lectured on his third-wave futurist ideology. At the EZTV media venue, frequented by transhumanists and other futurists, Natasha Vita-More presented Breaking Away, her 1980 experimental film with the theme of humans breaking away from their biological limitations and the Earth's gravity as they head into space. FM 2030 and Vita-More soon began holding gatherings for transhumanists in Los Angeles, which included students from FM 2030's courses and audiences from Vita-More's artistic productions. In 1982, Vita-More authored the Transhumanist Arts Statement and, 6 years later, produced the cable TV show Trans-Century Update on Transhumanity, a program which reached over 100,000 viewers. In 1986, Eric Drexler published Engines of Creation, The Coming Era of Nanotechnology, which discussed the prospects for nanotechnology and molecular assemblers and founded the Foresight Institute. As the first non-profit organization to research, advocate for and perform cryonics, the Southern California offices of the Alcor Life Extension Foundation became a center for futurists. In 1988, the first issue of Extropy magazine was published by Max More and Tom Morrow. In 1990, More, a strategic philosopher, created his own particular transhumanist doctrine, which took the form of the principles of extropy and laid the foundation of modern transhumanism by giving it a new definition. Transhumanism is a class of philosophies that seek to guide us towards a post-human condition. Transhumanism shares many elements of humanism, including a respect for reason and science, a commitment to progress and a valuing of human, or transhuman, existence in this life. Transhumanism differs from humanism in recognizing and anticipating the radical alterations in the nature and possibilities of our lives resulting from various sciences and technologies. In 1992, More and Morrow founded the Extropy Institute, a catalyst for networking futurists and brainstorming new memplexes by organizing a series of conferences and, more importantly, providing a mailing list, which exposed many to transhumanist views for the first time during the rise of cyberculture and the cyberdelic counterculture. In 1998, philosophers Nick Bostrom and David Pearce founded the World Transhumanist Association, WTA, an international non-governmental organization working toward the recognition of transhumanism as a legitimate subject of scientific inquiry and public policy. In 2002, the WTA modified and adopted the Transhumanist Declaration. Definitions of transhumanism. The Transhumanist FAQ, prepared by the WTA, later Humanity Plus, gave two formal definitions for transhumanism. 1. The intellectual and cultural movement that affirms the possibility and desirability of fundamentally improving the human condition through applied reason, especially by technologies to eliminate aging and to greatly enhance human intellectual, physical and psychological capacities. 2. The study of the ramifications, promises and potential dangers of technologies that will enable us to overcome fundamental human limitations and the related study of the ethical matters involved in developing and using such technologies. In possible contrast with other transhumanist organizations, WTA officials considered that social forces could undermine their futurist visions and needed to be addressed. A particular concern is the equal access to human enhancement technologies across classes and borders. In 2006, a political struggle within the transhumanist movement between the libertarian right and the liberal left resulted in a more center-leftward positioning of the WTA under its former executive director James Hughes. In 2006, the board of directors of the Extropy Institute ceased operations of the organization, stating that its mission was essentially completed. This left the World Transhumanist Association as the leading international transhumanist organization. In 2008, as part of a rebranding effort, the WTA changed its name to Humanity Plus. In 2012, the Transhumanist Longevity Party had been initiated as an international union of people who promote the development of scientific and technological means to significant life extension, that for now has more than 30 national organizations throughout the world. The Mormon Transhumanist Association was founded in 2006. By 2012, it consisted of hundreds of members. The first transhumanist elected member of a parliament has been Giuseppe Vadano, in Italy. Transhumanism theory. It is a matter of debate whether transhumanism is a branch of posthumanism and how this philosophical movement should be conceptualized with regard to transhumanism. The latter is often referred to as a variant or activist form of posthumanism by its conservative, Christian, and progressive critics. A common feature of transhumanism and philosophical posthumanism is the future vision of a new intelligent species, into which humanity will evolve and eventually will supplement or supersede it. Transhumanism stresses the evolutionary perspective, including sometimes the creation of a highly intelligent animal species by way of cognitive enhancement, biological uplift, but clings to a post-human future as the final goal of participant evolution. Nevertheless, the idea of creating intelligent artificial beings, proposed, for example, by roboticist Hans Moravec, has influenced transhumanism. Moravec's ideas and transhumanism have also been characterized as a complacent or apocalyptic variant of posthumanism and contrasted with cultural posthumanism in humanities and the arts. While such a cultural posthumanism would offer resources for rethinking the relationships between humans and increasingly sophisticated machines, transhumanism and similar posthumanisms are, in this view, not abandoning obsolete concepts of the autonomous liberal subject, but are expanding its prerogatives into the realm of the post-human. Transhumanist self-characterizations as a continuation of humanism and Enlightenment thinking correspond with this view. Some secular humanists conceive transhumanism as an offspring of the humanist freethought movement and argue that transhumanists differ from the humanist mainstream by having a specific focus on technological approaches to resolving human concerns, technocentrism, and on the issue of mortality. However, other progressives have argued that posthumanism, whether it be its philosophical or activist forms, amounts to a shift away from concerns about social justice, from the reform of human institutions and from other Enlightenment preoccupations, toward narcissistic longings for a transcendence of the human body in quest of more exquisite ways of being. As an alternative, humanist philosopher Dwight Gilbert Jones has proposed a renewed Renaissance humanism through DNA and genome repositories, with each individual genotype, DNA, being instantiated as successive phenotypes, bodies or lives via cloning. Church of Man, 1978. In his view, native molecular DNA continuity is required for retaining the self, and no amount of computing power or memory aggregation can replace the essential stink of our true genetic identity, which he terms genity. Instead, DNA/genome stewardship by an institution analogous to the Jesuits' 400-year vigil is a suggested model for enabling humanism to become our species' common credo, a project he proposed in his speculative novel The Humanist 1000 Summers, 2011, wherein humanity dedicates these coming centuries to harmonizing our planet and peoples. The philosophy of transhumanism is closely related to techno-self-studies, an interdisciplinary domain of scholarly research dealing with all aspects of human identity in a technological society and focusing on the changing nature of relationships between humans and technology. What do transhumanists want? You awake one morning to find your brain has another lobe functioning. Invisible, this auxiliary lobe answers your questions with information beyond the realm of your own memory, suggests plausible courses of action, and asks questions that help bring out relevant facts. You quickly come to rely on the new lobe so much that you stop wondering how it works. You just use it. This is the dream of artificial intelligence. Ray Kurzweil believes that a countdown to when human life will be irreversibly transformed can be made through plotting major world events on a graph. While many transhumanist theorists and advocates seek to apply reason, science, and technology for the purposes of reducing poverty, disease, disability, and malnutrition around the globe, transhumanism is distinctive in its particular focus on the applications of technologies to the improvement of human bodies at the individual level. Many transhumanists actively assess the potential for future technologies and innovative social systems to improve the quality of all life, while seeking to make the material reality of the human condition fulfill the promise of legal and political equality by eliminating congenital mental and physical barriers. Transhumanist philosophers argue that there not only exists a perfectionist ethical imperative for humans to strive for progress and improvement of the human condition, but that it is possible and desirable for humanity to enter a transhuman phase of existence in which humans enhance themselves beyond what is naturally human. In such a phase, natural evolution would be replaced with deliberate participatory or directed evolution. Some theorists such as Ray Kurzweil think that the pace of technological innovation is accelerating and that the next 50 years may yield not only radical technological advances, but possibly a technological singularity, which may fundamentally change the nature of human beings. Transhumanists who foresee this massive technological change generally maintain that it is desirable. However, some are also concerned with the possible dangers of extremely rapid technological change and propose options for ensuring that advanced technology is used responsibly. For example, Bostrom has written extensively on existential risks to humanity's future welfare, including ones that could be created by emerging technologies. In contrast, some proponents of transhumanism view it as essential to humanity's survival. Stephen Hawking points out that the external transmission phase of human evolution, where knowledge production and knowledge management is more important than transmission of information via evolution, may be the point at which human civilization becomes unstable and self-destructs, one of Hawking's explanations for the Fermi paradox. To counter this, Hawking emphasizes either self-design of the human genome or mechanical enhancement, e.g., brain-computer interface, to enhance human intelligence and reduce aggression, without which he implies human civilization may be too stupid collectively to survive an increasingly unstable system, resulting in societal collapse. While many people believe that all transhumanists are striving for immortality, it is not necessarily true. Hank Pelissier, Managing Director of the Institute for Ethics and Emerging Technologies, 2011-2012, surveyed transhumanists. He found that, of the 818 respondents, 23.8% did not want immortality. Some of the reasons argued were boredom, Earth's overpopulation, and the desire to go to an afterlife. Some people don't want to mess with the basic human being. Certain transhumanist philosophers hold that since all assumptions about what others experience are fallible and that therefore all attempts to help or protect beings that are not capable of correcting what others assume about them, no matter how well-intentioned, are in danger of actually hurting them. All sentient beings deserve to be sapient. These thinkers argue that the ability to discuss in a falsification-based way constitutes a threshold that is not arbitrary, at which it becomes possible for an individual to speak for themselves in a way that is not dependent on exterior assumptions. They also argue that all beings capable of experiencing something deserve to be elevated to this threshold if they are not at it, typically stating that the underlying change that leads to the threshold is an increase in the preciseness of the brain's ability to discriminate. This includes increasing the neuron count and connectivity in animals, as well as accelerating the development of connectivity to shorten or ideally skip non-sapient childhood incapable of independently deciding for oneself. Transhumanists of this description stress that the genetic engineering that they advocate is general insertion into both the somatic cells of living beings and in germ cells, and not purging of individuals without the modifications, deeming the latter not only unethical but also unnecessary due to the possibilities of efficient genetic engineering. Unlike many philosophers, social critics, and activists who place a moral value on preservation of natural systems, transhumanists see the very concept of the specifically natural as problematically nebulous at best and an obstacle to progress at worst. In keeping with this, many prominent transhumanist advocates, such as Dan Agin, refer to transhumanism's critics, on the political right and left jointly, as bioconservatives or bioluddites, the latter term alluding to the 19th century anti-industrialization social movement that opposed the replacement of human manual laborers by machines. A belief of counter-transhumanism is that transhumanism can cause unfair human enhancement in many areas of life, but specifically on the social plane. This can be compared to steroid use, where athletes who use steroids in sports have an advantage over those who do not. The same scenario happens when people have certain neural implants that give them an advantage in the workplace and in educational aspects. Edwards, who fear that the improvements afforded by a specific, privileged section of society will lead to a division of the human species into two different and distinct species. The idea of two human species, one being at a great physical and economic advantage in comparison with the other, is a troublesome one at best. One may be incapable of breeding with the other and may, by consequence of lower physical health and ability, be considered of a lower moral standing than the other. Nick Bostrom stated that transhumanism advocates for the well-being of all sentient beings, whether in non-human animals, extraterrestrials or artificial forms of life. This view is reiterated by David Pearce, who advocates for the use of biotechnology to eradicate suffering in all sentient beings. Many of the leading transhumanist thinkers hold views that are under constant revision and development. Benefits of transhumanism. Some distinctive currents of transhumanism are identified and listed here in alphabetical order. Abolitionism, the concept of using biotechnology to eradicate suffering in all sentient beings. Democratic transhumanism, a political ideology synthesizing liberal democracy, social democracy, radical democracy, and transhumanism. Equalism, a socio-economic theory based upon the idea that emerging technologies will put an end to social stratification through even distribution of resources in the technological singularity era. Extropianism, an early school of transhumanist thought characterized by a set of principles advocating a proactive approach to human evolution. Immortalism, a moral ideology based upon the belief that radical life extension and technological immortality is possible and desirable, and advocating research and development to ensure its realization. Libertarian transhumanism, a political ideology synthesizing libertarianism and transhumanism. Postgenderism, a social philosophy which seeks the voluntary elimination of gender in the human species through the application of advanced biotechnology and assisted reproductive technologies. Postpoliticism, a transhumanist political proposal that aims to create a post-democratic state based on reason and free access of enhancement technologies to people. Singularitarian, a moral ideology based upon the belief that a technological singularity is possible and advocating deliberate action to effect it and ensure its safety. Technogaianism, an ecological ideology based upon the belief that emerging technologies can help restore Earth's environment and that developing safe, clean, alternative technology should therefore be an important goal of environmentalists. The spirituality of transgenderism. Although many transhumanists are atheists, agnostics, and/or secular humanists, some have religious or spiritual views. Despite the prevailing secular attitude, some transhumanists pursue hopes traditionally espoused by religions, such as immortality. Several controversial new religious movements from the late 20th century have explicitly embraced transhumanist goals of transforming the human condition by applying technology to the alteration of the mind and body, such as realism. However, most thinkers associated with the transhumanist movement focus on the practical goals of using technology to help achieve longer and healthier lives, while speculating that future understanding of neurotheology and the application of neurotechnology will enable humans to gain greater control of altered states of consciousness, which were commonly interpreted as spiritual experiences and thus achieve more profound self-knowledge. Transhumanist Buddhists have sought to explore areas of agreement between various types of Buddhism and Buddhist-derived meditation and mind-expanding neurotechnologies. However, they have been criticized for appropriating mindfulness as a tool for transcending humanness. Some transhumanists believe in the compatibility between the human mind and computer hardware, with the theoretical implication that human consciousness may someday be transferred to alternative media, a speculative technique commonly known as mind uploading. One extreme formulation of this idea, which some transhumanists are interested in, is the proposal of the omega point by Christian cosmologist Frank Tipler. Drawing upon ideas in digitalism, Tipler has advanced the notion that the collapse of the universe billions of years hence could create the conditions for the perpetuation of humanity in a simulated reality within a megacomputer and thus achieve a form of post-human godhood. Before Tipler, the term omega point was used by Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, a paleontologist and Jesuit theologian who saw an evolutionary telos in the development of an encompassing noosphere, a global consciousness. Viewed from the perspective of some Christian thinkers, the idea of mind uploading is asserted to represent a denigration of the human body, characteristic of Gnostic Manichaean belief. Transhumanism and its presumed intellectual progenitors have also been described as neo-Gnostic by non-Christian and secular commentators. Transhumanism ad faith. The first dialogue between transhumanism and faith was a one-day conference held at the University of Toronto in 2004. Religious critics alone faulted the philosophy of transhumanism as offering no eternal truths nor a relationship with the divine. They commented that a philosophy bereft of these beliefs leaves humanity adrift in a foggy sea of postmodern cynicism and anomie. Transhumanists responded that such criticisms reflect a failure to look at the actual content of the transhumanist philosophy, which, far from being cynical, is rooted in optimistic, idealistic attitudes that trace back to the Enlightenment. Following this dialogue, William Sims Bainbridge, a sociologist of religion, conducted a pilot study, published in the Journal of Evolution and Technology, suggesting that religious attitudes were negatively correlated with acceptance of transhumanist ideas and indicating that individuals with highly religious worldviews tended to perceive transhumanism as being a direct, competitive, though ultimately futile, affront to their spiritual beliefs. Since 2006, the Mormon Transhumanist Association sponsors conferences and lectures on the intersection of technology and religion. The Christian Transhumanist Association was established in 2014. Since 2009, the American Academy of Religion holds a transhumanism and religion consultation during its annual meeting, where scholars in the field of religious studies seek to identify and critically evaluate any implicit religious beliefs that might underlie key transhumanist claims and assumptions, consider how transhumanism challenges religious traditions to develop their own ideas of the human future, in particular the prospect of human transformation, whether by technological or other means, and provide critical and constructive assessments of an envisioned future that place greater confidence in nanotechnology, robotics, and information technology to achieve virtual immortality and create a superior post-human species. The physicist and transhumanist thinker Giulio Prisco states that cosmist religions based on science might be our best protection from reckless pursuit of superintelligence and other risky technologies. Prisco also recognizes the importance of spiritual ideas, such as the ones of Russian Orthodox philosopher Nikolai Fyodorovich Fyodorov, to the origins of the transhumanism movement. Most people are for transhumanism. While most transhumanist theory focuses on future technologies and the changes they may bring, many today are already involved in the practice on a very basic level. It is not uncommon for many to receive cosmetic changes to their physical form via cosmetic surgery, even if it is not required for health reasons. Human growth hormones attempt to alter the natural development of shorter children or those who have been born with a physical deficiency. Doctors prescribe medicines such as Ritalin and Adderall to improve cognitive focus, and many people take lifestyle drugs such as Viagra, Propecia, and Botox to restore aspects of youthfulness that have been lost in maturity. Other transhumanists, such as cyborg artist Neil Harbisson, use technologies and techniques to improve their senses and perception of reality. Harbisson's antenna, which is permanently implanted in his skull, allows him to sense colors beyond human perception such as infrareds and ultraviolets. Transhumanists support the emergence and convergence of technologies including nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, and cognitive science, NBIC, as well as hypothetical future technologies like simulated reality, artificial intelligence, superintelligence, 3D bioprinting, mind uploading, chemical brain preservation and cryonics. They believe that humans can and should use these technologies to become more than human. Transhumanism websites. Transhumanist values. nickbostrom.com. The Hedonistic Imperative. headweb.com. IEET Cyborg Buddha Project. IEET.org. acceleratingfuture.com. anarcho-transhumanism.com. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/anarcho-transhumanism. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Christian_transhumanism. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/democratic_transhumanism. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/libertarian_transhumanism. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/list_of_basic_transhumanism_topics. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/transhuman. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/transhumanism. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/transhumanism_in_fiction. longevitymim.org/topics/transhumanism.cfm. technerati.com/tag/transhumanism. transfigurism.org/news/transhumanism. transhuman.de. transhumanism.com. transhumanism.meetup.com. transhumanism.org. transhumanismi.org. transhumanism-rusia.ru transhumanismus.cz. transhumanist.com. transientwaters.net/trans.html, essay questioning the legitimacy of transhumanism. transtopia.org/transhumanism.html. whatwemaybe.org, Future Human Evolution Eugenics in the 21st Century. Human Enhancement Websites. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/human_enhancement. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/hedonistic_imperative. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/the_hedonistic_imperative. futurehigh.net. brainmeta.com. hedonistic.org. nanotechnologist.com. paradise-engineering.com. headweb.com.